Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi, this is Tammy Patzer, and I'm really happy to introduce you to today's guest, SHANELLE Calvin. She is a process improvement coach who empowers women entrepreneurs to implement systems that save them time, money, and headaches. Welcome, SHANELLE.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So tell me, SHANELLE, who do you help?
I help women entrepreneurs who have typically been in business for about 2 to 5 years. They're at that spot where they're really, really clear on what they're selling. They're passionate about it, but they've gotten to that point where they are a little bit controlling with the business and they need to let go of the reins a bit and get some help in place. I help be able to actually do things a little bit more efficiently because they surrender a little bit of control, but they end up with a lot larger dividends. They end up spending less time working, making more money, and they can spend more time on things that they want to do.
So what the first question that comes to my mind is, so how do you do that? Because control issues, it is hard. It's kind of like having a baby, and it's like saying, here, you can hold my baby. And you don't really feel comfortable doing it. So how do you get people to start to relinquish some of that control? And I think sometimes even perfectionism.
Mm-hmm. Yes. First, what I usually do is I start with a call asking, why did they decide to connect with me? Typically, people decide to connect with me because they're to that frustration point already. So I asked them what they think might have contributed to the frustration point. And I asked them what they really like doing on a normal day with their business and the things that really, really cause them frustration. And then I said, what if I could help you eliminate some of those headaches by showing you how to do those things you don't like so much a little bit better, and taking a look at some of the things you do like doing and see if I could help you do those a little bit easier. And most people are already open to that conversation because nobody wants to spend time on things that frustrate them, and the things that they love doing. If I could help them do them easier, they're like, sure, I'm listening.
So for example, I'll just use myself as an example. So one of the things that I really love to do is I really love to interview people. And then of course there's the production part where I don't have to do a lot of production. I just have to, do a couple edits and cuts. But obviously that takes a lot of time. So what would your suggestion to me be? Saying, okay, I love to do interviews, but the production takes a lot of time. So what would you suggest?
I would suggest in that case, if you don't like doing the production so much, there's two options to that. One is to be able to use software a little bit easier to be able to crop the videos and eliminate the things you don't necessarily want to keep. The other option is to be able to have a production assistant. There's lots of people who would love to have that job, especially since you do interviews on a regular basis. And they're typically willing to do it on a freelance basis because you would only have so many interviews for them to be able to do it, and do it at a very, very cheap price. So I would give you a few options on how you can hire some people who freelance in that area. And a lot of times they'll actually do the videos for about $10, which is pretty cheap if you think about it, depending on how large your reach is with your audience.
Well, think about that. And that's a really good example because it could be anything that we do. And if our time, if we value our time at more than $10,
Right.
An hour or whatever, then anything that we're doing that takes away from what our highest and best use of our talents is, we're actually wasting time and money. So so you look at someone or listen to someone and you can probably almost see it before they ask the question, because like you answered my question, like boom, boom, boom. So how does this work? Do you meet people online or virtually? What is the process to work with you?
So first, what I do when somebody connects with me is I try to set them up on what I call a strategy call. And that's where I try to take some information from them to try to decide what they're really trying to reach and why they decided to work with me. I do give them a brief questionnaire, which has some information like, the things that frustrate you, the things that you love. I also ask what's their reason for actually getting into business, because a lot of times when I find out why they decided to run the business, I find out a lot about that person already, why they were drawn to do it, who they're trying to help, why they decided to go in the business. And a lot of times, if I drive you back to the reason why you started, you can kind of find your way along the path. Sometimes we get a little bit lost along our journey, and we start to take on a certain personality that allows us to go a little bit too controlling with some pieces, and we forget why we really started. So if I can drive home why you really started, the things that you really love about your day, and the things that frustrate you about your day, we can usually start to do an assessment pretty easily. And then after I ask, how they thought the assessment went, I recommend some things that they could do right away without any costs associated with it. And then I ask if they want me to help them a little bit deeper, then we can start some coaching. So I never leave anybody off of a strategy call without giving something that they can implement right away. And that comes free of cost, because I'm just a person who's naturally a giver, and I want to give you something to walk away with. Now, if you want something better than that, and you want to go a little bit deeper, which most people typically do, then we can go a little bit further and have some coaching sessions.
So you have a strategy call where you basically find out, but for example, if you're asking them about their why, because I know that most people, when they start out, their idea was not to create a job for themselves. Right. They thought they were going to create a business, and they had the typical why. I know for me was that I wanted to have more freedom in my life. I wanted to have more time. I was commuting an hour and a half each way to work. So that was 3 hours a day just in the car. Right. Sometimes longer than that if somebody had an accident or something on the freeway, and it would become a parking lot. So my big why was I wanted to have more time, have more freedom, and of course leave a legacy for the family at the end, and not just to say, oh yeah, I'm going to replace my job where I'm making whatever $16 an hour with another job where I'm making $2 because I'm doing it 24 hours a day. So when you work with people, you can help them save time, save money. What else can you help them with?
I can also help them with implementing systems, with hiring and retaining staff, and to also expand their brand. I actually come from a background with nonprofit organizations where I helped with client retention and recruitment, and also workforce training and development. And I also helped quite a few people who were small business owners expand their brand. So I can help further than that because I have a business background and a background in client retention and training. So it really kind of depends on what your business needs at that point. Some people really just need that strategy call because they're stuck. Some people need somebody to hold them accountable. They kind of know what they want to do, but they need a little bit more fleshing out, and they want somebody to hold them accountable. And there's some people who are like, I don't know what I'm doing in this business. There's something succeeding. Can you come in and help me to see what I'm doing well? Can you assess this and give me a plan to move forward? And can you get me some staff in here? And I can help with that as well. So it really depends on the size of the business and the needs of that particular person and how much control they're willing to relinquish.
So what is, I'm reading something about you, and you call it a performance assessment. What would be involved in a performance assessment?
In a performance assessment, I can do everything from what products you're selling and how well they're doing to how people are oriented to your business. So when somebody has a first impression of your business, whether that be on social media, your website, or even, when they're connecting with you in email, what your follow-up process is like. So I do everything from how the client is attracted to you and their first impression, to the products that you're currently selling or offering and how well they're doing, to your marketing and promotions, and to some of the things in your business plan. So I look at all of those different areas and see if they're syncing together, if you're actually holding yourself accountable to what your current goals are, and then looking towards the future. Are you setting yourself up for success now? Because if you aren't, then we need to work on that. And so a lot of people will say, they want their business to be in a certain place, But what they're doing is they're getting so bogged down in the day-to-day grind that they aren't really looking forward. And they're also frustrated because they don't see where their business has progressed. And what I end up finding out when I actually talk to the women entrepreneurs is that a lot of times they're doing a lot better than they think they are, but they don't have a tool to really measure it. So I showed them, this is what your business really looks like in all different areas. Everything from marketing promotions to your initial attraction to your client, to what your ideal client should be like, and to how your products are selling, and some opportunities that you have to be able to increase your business. And then they go, oh, wow, I didn't know my clients are buying because of this. I didn't know this was the impression that they were getting. I didn't know that they might be looking for these things on my website. I didn't know that these are some opportunities that I could do easily to make some additional money. So I give them a full view of their company from an outsider's perspective.
Wow, that sounds really phenomenal, because I think you just said it from an outsider's perspective, because we get so immersed in it. And like you said, if we get bogged down with the day-to-day activities of just keeping everything flowing, things fall through the cracks. And I know that happens with me. So you actually look at everything and then you create an action plan for someone to follow. So do you have like different levels of service? Like obviously if you give them a strategy plan, you can coach them. I mean, how far do you go with your services?
I offer everything from the initial strategy call for somebody who's looking for just that to working with a company for up to 9 months. Okay. So it depends on I usually like to call them pain points. It depends on how many pain points they currently have in their business that I can help them alleviate.
So if you're working with a company for up to 9 months, what would you say your role would be called?
Usually when somebody brings me in for 9 months, I usually consider that a coach and a consultant. Because I originally start with coaching them through the process, and then I typically come into the business to consult on a regular basis. So I would be doing follow-up with their staff members to make sure they're holding themselves accountable, to see how they like the changes that have been implemented, and to be able to stay there with the leadership team to put those things in place. So I end up kind of switching from coaching to actual consulting, where I'm on site a lot more often, and the staff gets to know me and the leadership team gets to know me, and I become a part of their team.
Okay, so you actually go into a company and get immersed into the culture of the company so that you can see all of the interworkings. So that's pretty phenomenal. What would you say are some big popular misconceptions about what coaching and training is all about?
I think that the misconception with coaching is because people see coaching so often that they automatically think that it's only one thing, or they think that just about anybody can be a coach. What I try to explain to them is there are different specialties in coaching. I am a process improvement coach. I've been doing process improvement for a very long time. And I actually had people asking me to coach them way before I decided to go into coaching, because I was doing consulting before that, both in person and on the radio. So I already have my expertise. I just decided to say coach instead of just consultant. There are some people who automatically assume that coaching is more like counseling. And there are some coaches who do that, but a lot of people who are coaches aren't counselors. And so I try to explain to people, before you already write yourself off, be open to a conversation. Look at what people are offering, see if they're credible, see what their background is, and just to do initial consultation. If a coach doesn't offer a consultation, then I really wouldn't trust them. You don't want to get into business with anybody who you can't at least talk to and see what they have to offer before you make a decision. But mostly it's people have a misconception as to what coaching is, or they think that, people aren't credible. And sometimes you're right.
Well, I think for you are a specialist, because process improvement, and I'm thinking about all of the different people I've talked to and the different types of coaches I've talked to, because there are some people who would specialize in, for example, marketing or social media, or, there are very different aspects of everyone's business. So, but the process, I think, that we all go through, it's such a valuable type of coaching, because I think, like you said, people, especially in years 2 to 5, I'm actually going into year 7. And at year 5, I remember just taking this big sigh of, oh my goodness, I'm still in business.
Yes.
And I remember year 2, and and you really do go through a growth of trying to figure out, well, who am I? What am I doing? And I've actually seen my focus change
Yes.
from where I started. And
True.
with that, the processes and the needs do change, just like in my example earlier, figuring out, well, what do I do well and like to do? And I know that I'm spending a lot of time doing things that someone else could easily be doing. All I'd have to do is say, here, I want this done, and they could do it. So
Right.
if somebody wants to work with you, what is the easiest way for them to connect with you?
The easiest way that they can connect with me is on my website. It's www.shanelle.me. There's an option on the website which gives you the information about my background, how I got started in coaching, my expertise. It includes information about the packages, and it's also an opportunity to be able to schedule a consultation. So www.shanelle.me. I always tell people you can also look me up on LinkedIn and just send me a message on LinkedIn. My information's on there as well. But usually the website is the easiest way to access our social media. My name and my company name is on there, Shanelle Calvin.
Okay, and Shanelle, by the way, is SHANELLE.me. So that's really cool. So Shanelle, before I let you go, is there anything that you would like to let people know that maybe I haven't asked you?
Sure. I have a virtual coaching academy that'll be launching on July 30th. It will allow women entrepreneurs who are busy and need some additional training to be able to access the training modules from any place on their laptop. Or also their tablet or mobile device. It has 3 coaching modules on things that are the normal pain points for small business owners, everything from pricing your products to negotiation and dealing with partnerships to being able to plan for the future. So that'll be launching very soon. And there's also going to be a components Facebook support group for women entrepreneurs to be able to connect with each other to be able to understand the other people who are going through the coaching program. And we're even going to end up with a live event next year. So I'm very, very excited about that. Please watch on the website and watch on social media to see when that's launching, because I'm sure you're going to love it.
Wow, that's really fabulous. So at the end of July, you'll have a virtual coaching academy, and they'll be able to go to Shanelle.me to find out about that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And a Facebook group and a live event to look forward to. I really love that, because I think that live events really do help people make huge connections. And when you meet like-minded people, you can form lifelong friendships from something that started out as a virtual experience. Well, Shanelle Calvin, I really appreciate your time today. And I'll ask you back another time, and we'll talk about some other cool things related to process improvement.
Sounds great.
This is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.